Hello guys and welcome back to another episode of Learn Laravel the Easy Way here on Tech Shantier's channel. So today we are talking about how to create database tables from our MySQL from our Laravel application directly into our MySQL database. So normally what you have to normally do is if you come to the PHP admin, you will go to, you see it has a table part where you can actually give a name of a table and then you create, right? It is going to create you a table. Let's take, for example, if you want to create a table, a classic example of, let's say, users, right? You put normally users. So, and then you click on create and it's going to ask you, maybe you have an ID, you have a name, you have an email, you have a password, right? This is all the way you usually do it. So the name is varchar, the email is varchar, the password is varchar. Let's put the length of 255, 255, 255, right? I'm just going to submit this. And if I preview the SQL, this is the SQL that is going to run. So please note this is the SQL that is going to run. I'll copy this and keep somewhere. And once I save this, you see it has created a table, right? It has created a table called users so you can see the users. But then we don't want to do this manually. We want to let Laravel do it by creating the tables on its own. So I'm going to come back here and I'm going to drop this table. I will drop this table. Then I'll go back to my code. I'll keep this somewhere. So this is the SQL file, or this is the SQL code that, the SQL command that we use to create the table, right? So this is what we used. So we're going to see how Laravel also generates its own SQL queries using the Laravel system. So to do this, first of all, we have to create what is called migrations. So migrations are Laravel's own way of creating database tables using PHP. So if you go under databases and you go under migration, you will see that by default, Laravel ships with three migration. It ships with the user migration, it ships with the cache migration, and the jobs migration. We're going to look at how the user migration looks like. So if you click on user migration, you can close this. So you see that it's saying that schema create, right? Schema create means that I want to create a schema and it's a database table users. And for the table users, I want to create an ID field. I want to create a string field called name. I want to create a string field called email, and that email has to be unique. I want to create a timestamp, right, called email verified at, and it can be nullable. It means that it could be null, it could not be null. It means that the next part is I want to create a string. I want to create a string field called password, and I want to create a remember token and a timestamp. And then again, it's creating another password reset token, and it's creating a session. So this is the way that Laravel does in creating tables. This is how you write your command or you write your PHP code, giving Laravel instructions to create your tables, right? So in the section of the function of this is to run the migration to create the tables. Now, in case you want to delete or you want to drop the tables, it is the down command. So it's going to drop the table if it exists users. Remember, there's a users table that has been created here, a users table that has been dropped. We are dropping the password reset token, and we're also dropping the session. So once you write your own file, you write your own migration, you are going to be able to do all of this. And all of this information is found in the Laravel documentation. If you go to migration, right? If you go to migration, you will see everything that is explained here. Migrations are like version control for your database, allowing your team to define and share the application database schema definition. So you can read more about this and you will go down. If we scroll down to this, so it gives you all of the various available column types, right? So when you're creating a column type, it could be a big increment, a big integer, a binary, a boolean, a char, date, time zone, date, time, date, decimal, and lots of other ones, right? So these are the data types of the field that you want to create. So if you want to create a field that takes a JSON, you can use this. If you want to create a field that takes maybe a set, you can use this. If you want to create a field that takes an increment, an integer, it takes a string, a UUID, a year, a ULID, right? You can use any of these. So in this case, we want to create our database migration file for the table that is going to take contact us. And we want that table to be called inquiries, right? We want the table to be called inquiries. So I'm going to reset this. And we want that every inquiry is being put into that table. So we're going to use the artisan command, php artisan make migration, right? So when you say make migration, it means you want to create a new migration file. This is just to create the file. You have not run the file yet. So we're going to call that create table, right? So when you say create table, it's just a name that you're giving it, right? Create table, or sorry, you don't say create table, create inquiries table, right? So you're saying that you're creating a migration called create inquiries table. And if you go here, immediately you hit enter, you're going to see the file is going to be created here. So if you hit enter, you see that a new file has been created. And if you open that file, it's blank, right? Or sorry, it's not blank, but it comes with two things. It comes with table. So it comes first of all with the schema. The schema says it's creating an inquiries table. And the first line is the table ID. So this is an auto increment ID that automatically creates. And for this timestamp, the timestamp helps you to create two fields, a created at and an updated at. You're going to see that once we do it. So in our inquiries table, we need to say table, right? Remember, in our inquiries table, this inquiries table is supposed to hold contact us, and contact us has a name, has an email, and has a message, right? So we say that we have a string, right? Name. Yep. So, and then we have a table, string, email, right? And then we have a table. So we're going to say text, message. So text is like the longer version. Text is like long, where you can put so much character. So if you go and read about the string, you can read about the text, you will see their limitation. So if you do about this, you see their limitation. So we have been able to say that we need three extra fields: the name, the email, and the message, right? And then the name is a string, the email is a string, the text is a string, right? So this is what we've been able to do. I'm going to remove this. And how, now that we've created this, if we go back to our database, you will notice that still yet our database is empty, right? It doesn't mean that because you created the migration, then the database will have data, or the database would have created the tables. Now we have to give Laravel the command that, hey, it is time for you to run this command and create the database tables into the database. So for you to do this, you do php artisan migrate. So the php artisan migrate command tells your Laravel that I want to run all of these migration files. Excuse me. I want to run all of the migration files that have not yet been executed. Now I will show you something. You can write down dash dash, add a flag called pretend, right? So if you do php artisan migrate dash dash pretend and you hit enter, so it's going to pretend as if it's attempting to run the migration. And if you notice, it is a bunch of SQL commands, create table. And if you look at this, we remember we had that create table something. So this one already has this create table, create table. So this is what runs behind or under the hood when you run php artisan migrate. So anytime that you want to see or determine how this works, you can add them pretend field or the pretend option. So this pretend option will not actually run it. It will pretend as if it's running it and then show you what exactly is going to run. So now that we want to run it, we say php artisan migrate and we hit enter, right? So it's saying that create this done, create this done, create this done. So it's run all of the three migrations or the four migrations. The one for the user, the one for the jobs, the one for the, let me see what is going. So we have users, we have jobs, table, cache, we have jobs, and we have inquiries. And if we go to our PHP admin to confirm that those tables have been created, right? If we refresh this, the database, you see that, hey, we have a couple of tables. We have the cache table, we have the cache log table, failed jobs table, inquiries table, a lot of other tables, but this is where we are focused on, right? So if you click on inquiries, you're going to see that we have an ID. We did not create this. This was created because of the fact that we used this, right? So this part created the ID here. Now we have a name, sure. We have an email, sure. We have a message, sure. But now we have the created at and updated at, right? Created at and updated are done because you used this timestamp. This is important for Laravel to keep track of when a record was created, right? And also when a record was updated. So you've been able to see how to run migrations, create migration files, and you can also have details about the various fields or the various column types for the migration here. And then once you run the migration, you can verify it using either your PHP admin or your MySQL command line interface tool.